In our digital world, data isn't just sitting there in a database somewhere. It's a constant, unstoppable stream. So, have you ever wondered how the biggest companies on the planet manage this never-ending flow of information in real time? Well, we're about to break it down. I want you to just think about this number for a second. Trillions. That's not some far-off government debt number. Nope, that's how many data events a platform like Apache Kafka can handle every single day. The scale is it's mind-boggling, right? And that leads us to the million-dollar question. When every single millisecond matters, and the data literally never stops, how on earth do companies process all of that without their systems just, completely melting down? To get that answer, we first have to really understand what this data flood even is. It's probably the defining tech challenge of our time, and it's happening right now, behind the scenes of pretty much every app on your phone. So what is all this data? Well, in this world, we call them events. And an event is super simple. It's just a record that something happened. That's it. You click a button on a website, that's an event. You buy something online, that's an event. A smart thermostat reports the temperature, yep, that's an event too. Each one is a tiny, unchangeable fact in a massive, ongoing story. Now, the old way of doing things, collecting data in big chunks and processing it hours later, that just doesn't cut it anymore. It's way too slow. So some really smart people started asking a new question. What if we stopped treating data like a lake we dip into and started treating it like a river that's always flowing? And that, my friends, was the start of the event streaming revolution. And sitting right at the heart of this revolution is the undisputed champion, Apache Kafka. It was actually born at LinkedIn because they had this insane data problem they had to solve. It's a platform built from the ground up to do one thing really well: handle these endless flows of events the moment they happen. Okay, so what makes Kafka so different? Let's break it down. Traditional systems were kind of like sending a text message. Once it's delivered and read, it's basically gone. It's ephemeral. But Kafka is more like a permanent, unchangeable record book. An event gets written down and it stays there. It can be read over and over again by anyone who needs it, and the original record is never destroyed. So how in the world does it actually pull this off? All right, let's pop the hood and see what's going on inside. I think the best way to wrap your head around it is to imagine Kafka as a digital central nervous system for an entire organization's data. So if Kafka is the nervous system, then the event is the actual nerve signal, right? It's that tiny little blip of information, that fact that says, hey, something just happened over here. But these signals don't just fly around in total chaos. Nope, they're neatly organized into something called topics. A topic is really just a category or a feed. You might have one for user clicks and another for order payments. Sticking with our analogy, it's like having one nerve pathway just for vision and a completely separate one for sound. Okay, but what happens when you get millions of vision signals coming in all at once? A single pathway would get totally overwhelmed, and this is where Kafka gets really smart. It takes a single topic and splits it into multiple partitions. It's kind of like taking a one-lane road and turning it into a massive multi-lane superhighway. This is the secret to how it handles such insane amounts of data all at once. And what's directing all this traffic? That would be the brokers. These are the actual workhorse servers that make up the Kafka system, the cluster. They're the ones physically storing the data and making sure everything gets where it needs to go. All right, so let's follow one little piece of data on its journey. First, you have a producer. That's just any application that creates an event and it sends it to a specific topic. Next, a broker receives it and stores it in one of those partitions we just talked about. And finally, on the other end, you have a consumer, another application that reads that event to do something useful with it, like update a dashboard or check for fraud. And Kafka is constantly getting better. For the longest time, it needed this other separate system called Zookeeper to kind of act as its brain and coordinate everything. But now, that's all changed. With a new protocol called Craft, that brain is built right into Kafka itself. And this is a huge deal because it makes the whole system way easier for people to run and manage. Okay, so that's the how it all works. But now let's get to the really good stuff, the why. What is Kafka's secret sauce? What gives it this almost unfair advantage? It all comes down to one incredibly powerful concept, the append-only log. Since Kafka doesn't delete data after it's been read, it basically becomes a time machine for your data. You could build a brand new application today and tell it, hey, go back and show me every single order from the last 7 days. It can literally replay history. This means you can have tons of different applications all reading the same data at their own pace without ever getting in each other's way. It's a total game changer.
But what happens if a server crashes? You know, the hardware just dies? No sweat. Kafka was literally designed for failure. It automatically copies every piece of data across multiple brokers. So if one of them goes offline, a replica instantly takes over. The stream keeps flowing and no data is ever lost. It's incredibly resilient.
So let's pull this out of the technical weeds and talk about the real world. Because this isn't just some abstract theory. This architecture is the invisible engine running under the hood of so many services you use every single day.
I mean, companies use it so all their little microservices can talk to each other without becoming a tangled mess. It's what powers that real-time fraud check when you swipe your credit card. It's how huge companies gather log data from thousands of servers into one central place. The use cases are just endless.
And get this, Kafka isn't just one tool, it's a whole ecosystem. You've got things like Kafka Connect that make it super easy to pull data from any database you can think of. And then there's Kafka Streams, which lets developers build powerful processing apps that run right on top of the data stream itself. It's a full-blown platform.
So as we start to wrap up, what's the big picture here? The big takeaway is that this shift from processing data in slow, clunky batches to processing it as a continuous, real-time stream, that's not just a trend. It's absolutely the future of data architecture.
And this quote right here just nails it. Kafka didn't just create a slightly better tool. It introduced a whole new way of thinking. It provides this rock-solid, scalable foundation that lets companies build the kind of responsive, intelligent apps that we all just expect now.
So I'll leave you with this final thought, circling all the way back to our analogy. By treating data as this continuous flow of nerve signals, Kafka gives an organization real-time awareness of everything happening, both inside and out. So the real question is, if your business had that kind of digital central nervous system, what incredible new things could it sense, react to, and achieve?